Hello, everyone, and welcome to another community team Q&A. And live this week, I have with me my esteemed comrade Michael Hall, and we've got a couple special guests as well who he'll introduce in just a second. Just remember, if you're watching this on YouTube or some other place, you can chat with us and ask us questions live as we're talking. And if you go to ubuntuonair.com, you'll see a lovely IRC chat window below this video of our lovely faces, and we'll be able to interact with you. Otherwise, you can direct your IRC client to Freenode and join #ubuntu-on-air. As usual, we'll be taking your questions live. Anything and everything is open to be asked, so feel free to hit us with interesting questions. And Mike, why don't you go ahead and introduce what we're going to be talking about, sort of as a special thing. What's happening today in the Ubuntu land?
All right, so if you've been paying any attention to Ubuntu social media, Mark Shuttleworth's blog, or various tech sites, you've probably heard that we had an announcement today about Snappy Ubuntu Core for internet-connected devices. With us here, we've got, like Nick said, we've got Alex and Martin who've been part of developing this to give us kind of an overview of what it all means and how those of you who want to get involved can do that. So we'll hand it over to Martin and Alex. Go ahead and take it away.
Hey, yes, so I'm Alexander Sack. I'm leading the Ubuntu core effort here at Ubuntu, and I'm super thrilled about what was announced today, which basically is opening a complete new era of compute, in my opinion. So if you have been with us and Ubuntu for a while, then you know that traditionally we have been focused on providing a great repository of software that everybody can easily install, that is secure and is all very nicely integrated, and it's all free software, and you can basically consume that nicely on the cloud as well on the desktop. And we also have, as you know, the phone right next door coming out of our pipeline. So, but that's basically an era where it was about helping humans to really get their jobs done with devices or with interacting with servers. And now, I mean, as you know from the media, there's like a whole new wave of innovation ongoing in the industry, and that is really about how can you make life of humans even better by enabling compute to support them with many things around them. So introducing security systems, smart automation at home, helping the environment by keeping the power consumption of your heating system low, and so on. And we have noticed that there's lots of innovation ongoing in this era, and lots of innovators are actually using Ubuntu already as a base. However, they were not really able to make use of our platform in the way that they wanted or that they needed. They basically couldn't get their software easily integrated in the distribution because it wasn't up to the standards, and it wasn't working very well, and they didn't have means to really make real devices out of the software and distribute the software. Coming from the Ubuntu Touch effort, we have basically in the recent months looked at what technology enables us to open this ecosystem of software to more people, so they can participate and do their own innovative ideas and realize that as part of our system. And we have realized that this application store concept that we have produced for Ubuntu Touch is a very powerful tool. This basically allows everyone to distribute their software directly to a platform without having to go through a distribution, without having to integrate it tightly, and being directly in charge of getting the software out. Now, if you take this concept and that's basically applied to a single platform like Touch, and you try to think about what other kind of devices or other ways of compute might exist, and you can see that basically this concept of having an app store and the ability to produce systems that automatically update is far more powerful than what you can basically do currently in the distribution. And by taking the technology that was developed in Touch, we were able to distill that down to really just the fundamentals that are needed to empower such an ecosystem for everyone. Right? And Ubuntu Core basically has now just the update mechanisms, the security, and the ability for everyone to really go and innovate and develop their own personal appliance with an App Store community built in, and everybody can benefit from the tools we have developed there. So that's super exciting, and as part of our development of this Ubuntu Core for Things effort, we have talked to many partners, and they all seem to have been waiting for that. So that's the way to go. I mean, grab what we have and try to see what you can do in this new world of things.
Martin, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, Azak covered almost everything, but yeah, I mean, to me, this launch is kind of the perfect intersection between what I want as a user and what I want as a developer. I have a lot of small devices around my home. When I built my home, I built being able to automate in the future. I wasn't super happy with what I had, what was available today. So since we started working on it, I started fiddling with it. And the one thing I didn't want to do, I didn't want to be a sysadmin for stuff running in my house. I already have more than I want for things running in cloud, and I didn't want to botched updates to make my electric curtains to stop working and things like that. So I think Snappy is kind of the perfect intersection there, because as a user, I get an updated system. I also wanted something that was connected. Right? I wanted it on my network, possibly on the internet. So throwing any of these random devices up on the internet with all these security holes piling up made me really nervous. So I think with Snappy we found the really right balance there, where the device will be secure, updates will be reliable, and it will always work. On the other hand, as a user, I'm really looking forward to the app ecosystem that you can build around this, which I think is missing from most other platforms. So not just the fact that there is a store and there's an app ecosystem where you can upload stuff, but the confinement that comes with it, right? So I know that I get a certain amount of guarantee that I can stop random apps from people I don't necessarily know, and it won't be able to mess with my system. It might be able to mess with the devices I give it access to, but not with my system. So yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to see how people are going to use this, and how the ecosystem is going to grow around it. I know I've been able to tinker with a lot of this without having to invest a huge amount of time, all with stock hardware that's been out there for a while. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
So you mentioned app developers. Now on the phone, we've put in a lot of work on this, and we've got a really nice story where you create an app, you target a framework instead of a device. You upload it to the store, and it gets automatically reviewed and processed and published, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful process. What is the app developer process for Snappy devices or Ubuntu Core devices?
It's exactly the same thing. It's exactly the same process, and it's exactly the same store. So Snappy packages were built basically by taking what worked well in Click and everything we learned there, and making it even nicer for humans to interact with, both on the developer side and on the user side. So most of the technology there's an overlap there. So the store will take package or a Click package, you go through to the same page, the same process. The same review scripts, it's the same automation. So if you build a package, you go to the store, you put it up there, fill in some basic details, and if it was built properly, it'll be available within minutes to download and use.
So an app developer would be able to get their package out to any of these devices within like an hour or so.
Minutes.
That's pretty incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is a framework then? On the phone, it's the APIs and the UI toolkit that's available. What's a framework represent in the Snappy world?
Do you want to take that, Isaac?
Yeah. So as I said before, I mean this world is really rapidly moving around things, and it's not really clear what kind of framework or SDK will basically evolve as a winner. So we are really focusing on trying to work with all those communities out there that are currently developing such frameworks to enable them to really get their software distributed on a Snappy platform in the most natural manner for them. So if you think about what exists already, so think about the PyPy ecosystem or the Node.js ecosystem, they have like a huge repository of software already available that is very easy to use and to combine and to make building blocks out of it. And at the moment, the distribution or Ubuntu distribution didn't really make it easy for them, those guys that built an application, to package it up and distribute that in a meaningful manner. With Snappy, you basically can just take that, put it all together, and get a nice mechanism to package everything up in a single snap and distribute it right away. Further, I think over time there will be players in the Snappy ecosystem that will take basically the lead and invent frameworks that will be useful for certain type of verticals. So there might be people for developing like a home gateway solution, or somebody making robots and so on, and they can all participate in this ecosystem and compete and innovate around them. And we just want to enable those guys to get their jobs done. So we explicitly didn't take basically an opinionated choice about frameworks here, but we want to see the community flesh out what they want and rather work with them together so they can realize their own vision on top of Snappy with us.
So if I understand this right, then at the moment there's no separation in the store for different devices or anything like that. It would just be, if I published everything. It's available to everybody.
Right, so if you basically just target Ubuntu core and you don't depend on any kind of framework and so on, then you will practically be only limited by the device capabilities that you require to run on. So let's assume you want to write an app that requires Wi-Fi. Then in Snappy world, your application in theory can be installed on all kind of Snappy device that has Wi-Fi enabled. Obviously, we want to enable the ecosystem to make products and appliances and create their own small little kingdoms of application ecosystems. So there will be potentially systems over time that have basically their own substore in the Snappy ecosystem, where basically they require people to adhere certain standards in order to get in, or to basically charge some money, or they can do whatever they want. But I mean, on a generic Snappy device, at the beginning, the world is open for everyone to distribute their software on them.
So that's an interesting thing that I hadn't considered yet. You'll be able to sell Snappy apps for these Internet of Things devices.
Right. So that's the store is a key component in this ecosystem. So previously, the distribution, I mean, in my opinion, we were very successful in doing what we were doing, and we created a very isolated ecosystem that was very deeply entrenched on the free software world. However, there are many, many more use cases out there where people basically want to make a business around it. It could be charging for money or having service fees and so on, and the store will enable all of that to happen. And everybody could have their share on that. So you could basically, if you write a software, you can participate and potentially over time get a share of people making devices that come with your software pre-shipped, for instance. Or you can make your own kind of device class over time and build up your own ecosystem for which you get then over time a revenue share if everything flashes out. That's why we basically have chosen the store as a primary media to distribute apps up front rather than a repository, because it allows us all those opportunities for everyone.
I'd like to go back to security for a minute. You guys mentioned that this was a secure way of deploying apps to these devices. So if I install an RSS feed reader on my fridge, what's to stop it from finding out all of the junk food that I have in my fridge and reporting that to Google.
Right.
Well, you just don't buy junk food, right?
Yeah, that's not going to happen. So give me a better option.
So we have the same spirit of confinement as we do on the phone, where apps by default can't talk to each other and can only access a very small system. I think the confinement story is a little bit different and trickier on these types of devices, but I think you can generally assume that any app you install won't be able to access information from any other app. That's a general principle we brought over. So if you install an RSS feeder, it won't be able to talk to the rest of your fridge, unless there's been an explicit decision that some part of the fridge's information is open, then anybody will be able to access it. But just the confinement of apps within themselves is what would block this malicious usage.
Right. I mean, security is really the key part that enables us to do what we are doing here. So Ubuntu is from the ground up very dedicated to security, and the distribution was a very successful model of basically keeping all that tight and secure. Now, in the touch framework, we invented this technology that allows applications to run completely isolated from each other, which then opens this opportunity to actually allow third-party software to be distributed without going through a peer review process, without having to go through an integrator, without risking the integrity and the security of the other application, the other data of the device. Of course, this guy is in charge for his own software, so if you distribute a block and that block is then insecure, then people can probably hijack that block, but they cannot break out of their sandbox and take over other parts of the system. And over time, basically, we believe that players that have very good security will pan out to be very successful, whereas those that have incidents and so on will then get eliminated from the market.
All right, that's good to know. I know a lot of people would have concerns about that, so knowing that security is baked in from the very beginning is nice.
Right.
Coming at this from another angle, if you're a device developer instead of an app developer, and you're creating an Ubuntu core device image, how do you get that out to existing devices for updates and whatnot? Is there something equivalent to the store or the system image server for device developers?
So, because of security, we have a very strict model with regards to ensuring that the kernels that are provided for products are kept up to date and secure. However, everything where you don't need basically the kernel, you are free to do, and we are creating and have created places in the Snappy system that allows you to basically configure, brand, and pre-install whatever software you want on a device, and in this way make basically your own personal appliance that might come with its own app store and everything out of the box. So we have designed that from the ground up for those kind of small innovators that want to go out and they have an idea for an appliance, but they don't have the money to create like a whole operating system and maintain the security of it. Right. However, on the kernel side, I mean, we basically will take over maintaining those kernels centrally. So we work with many partners to ensure that there's a huge variety of silicon readily available that then people can use and configure using their own space in the in the Snappy stack to really adopt that for the individual hardware configuration and make that work.
Okay. And it'll work like the phone, right, where system updates can go out anytime and it's not going to affect user data or installed apps. It's just a nice, easy upgrade process.
Right.
Correct.
It's like all automated. We have built-in feature that will basically detect if the device fails to boot. It will then automatically reboot back into the old image. And we are working on ways to ensure that if you would be a device manufacturer, you basically get feedback on that, and then you can work on resolving this issue on the fly.
Yeah, we're planning to move even more aggressively there, right? For system image, but for apps as well. We want to make sure that apps can be updated
Right.
transactionally, and if anything fails, you roll back. We send back the information to the server. We'll give you some APIs as a developer to be able to enrich that, so you know, okay, so you deployed a new version of your app. 10% of the installs failed. Here's why. The roller has stopped. Please look at it. So we're going to give developers a lot of tools to really improve on the quality of what they deliver to users, because it's just super important, right? You don't want any of these devices to fail in any way. Because failure is part of developing software, we're focusing on making sure that if you fail, you know quickly, and you roll back so the user isn't affected, and it just give you the tools to be able to do that well. And yeah.
Right.
So that's likely to be a very welcome addition. I know reliably updating systems is a hard thing that everybody has to do that really has nothing to do with the product that they're actually trying to build. So having that kind of necessary but boring part of the infrastructure taken care of for them is going to be a real nice thing.
Yes. I mean, this is what Snappy is about. Really look at all the tasks that all the innovators of those devices don't really want or need to do. I mean, which isn't really part of the core value they are trying to invent there, and taking that off them and do that centrally, and rolling updates, providing all the infrastructure to do that is pretty much a big part of that. And that's for device manufacturers and also for apps, as Martin said, themselves, so that you basically, if you distribute your apps, you can just use all the best practices and tools that we have developed over time that allows you to do that efficiently.
Yeah, and if you think about it, for example, if you have a thermostat, a smart thermostat, the app may be more important or as important as the system itself, right? So there really is no distinction between how critical it is for the system to be broken, from an app to be broken from a user's perspective.
All right. If anyone's got any more questions for these guys, go ahead and get them in now. I know they've been working hard these last couple of days and could use some much-needed downtime. So we're going to let them jump off early and move on to some other things. So we'll give you a few more minutes to get any questions in. Nick, do you have any questions for them?
I was just going to comment on what we've been talking about, which is to say the update process. But as a user then, we talked quite a bit about the developer side, but as a user, is that sort of seamless to me? Is that something that these sort of built-in fallbacks are really nice? So if my manufacturer whatever pushes out an update, or if some app developer whose software I consume pushes an update and it fails, it's sort of all seamless to me. As far as the update, assuming it goes well or not, right? So that I fall back nicely to the old version.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the part that we as Canonical care about, and we care about the ecosystem. This is our OS, right? Our tools that are being used, and we want the users by default. So, from a user perspective, your system is always up to date. You don't have to go in and click on a thing. You don't have to go and sideload a firmware. Your system is always up to date. That's our default policy. Both your system and the apps, an app update comes in, it tries to update it. If it fails, rolls back, tells the developer, lets you go on with whatever you're doing until there's a new update. And we'll have different mechanisms to minimize the impact of bad updates and things like that. Just target small amounts of users as canaries and things like that. So all that system over time. But from a user's perspective, you have a thing in your house. It's secure and up to date. You don't need to be a sysadmin for your devices, which is one of the things that I mentioned started.
Wow, yeah, that's excellent. Awesome. I think we have a few questions. So Daniel asks, can you talk a bit about Snappy versus Click? What are the differences versus commonalities?
Sure. So
Click version 2. So, yeah. So for, I mean, snaps, which this is how we basically call snappy apps. It's just basically a next version of the concepts and the paradigms that we have established with Click. So for Click, we basically invented this new packaging technology that was mostly there to enable people to distribute software that gets installed through like a UI-based design. But now that we have brought Snappy to the cloud and we bring it to the things and so on, we go much further down the stack and have just revisited the packaging format, clean it up, and add the features necessary so it's extensible and helps us to wrap more parts of the system into a similar packaging format. So just think about it as a natural evolution of Click, and we just call them snaps for now.
So is Snappy going to eventually replace Click, or are they going to live side by side for a while?
That's something which is hard to predict at the moment, but given how it looks like, it is very likely that the our touch stack might converge at some point with what we are doing in Snappy. When and how and if, that's still to be defined. But given that we have those two technologies and we have basically evolved the Click technology in Snappy, I think it's natural to assume that at some point this will come back to the Click world, so they can also benefit from the improvements we did there.
Yeah, I think conceptually Click and Snap are the same. Like the principles that got in Click stand with Snappy, but we came at it with a different set of requirements, as Isaac said. There's no UI, so interact with things at command line. Now you really care about what you type, which before you didn't, because you had an icon and a bunch of other things to interact with. So it's an evolution of Click, but conceptually they're the same. Like the basic blocks of what Click great are exactly the same ones as snaps.
Right, and it supports. It's kind of compatible, and it supports like a superset of features that Click supports. So I wouldn't be too worried about the case. In case basically we're moving down that road, there will be no real change of mindset or retooling required to go down that road for developers.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we use the same store, we're using the same Click review tools, so we're using all the same infrastructure we have, which sort of gives you an idea of just how close together these two.
All right, we got a bunch of questions coming in now. So Sid Payton asks, will there be a way, like an API, provided for communication unification so that all vendors can talk to each other? Is that something that's in the scope of Snappy and what it wants to do?
So this could be basically a question that is asking, can apps communicate amongst each other? Or this could be a question, can devices talk to each other? So
I think probably devices, and is there a standard like protocol for them to talk?
So, as I said before, we don't want to make the decision, and this ecosystem is so rapidly evolving that it's actually not clear what will be the right choice. But we are working with partners, and we want to enable them that they all can make their standards easily available for the Snappy platform, so that everybody can pick their choice, and there will be just an organic evolutionary process that will establish over time what basically will be the standard. So think about Snappy as just as a mean to ensure that the standards can evolve rather than deciding at this point of time what the standard is. But yes, there are partners that we work with that believe they invent the standard that will become available for Snappy.
There is no standard right now, right? So that's the short answer. What we've built is the tools, so you'll be able to build frameworks for different standards. You'll be able to install them. They'll be able to be co-installable. And you might end up with 3 or 4 different standards on your Snappy device. And that'll be fine. You'll be able to use any of them, absolutely able to use any of them. If one of them wins, then all that, I mean, we have all the building blocks to support it, and the ecosystem will grow however it goes. If everybody starts using something, there might be an argument to put it into core, but I think in general, we need to keep core super, super thin and just let you install frameworks and apps as convenient to build the type of device that you want.
Exactly.
Okay. Daniel again has a question. What would you suggest to a local team getting together as a group at an event to play around with to get to know Snappy and its new world?
Go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what you wanna do, what you're interested in, right? Because just in cloud, the Snappy for cloud and Snappy for IoT for devices, you're basically covering vast part of the computing world. So I think the answer to that depends on what you're interested in, right? I think BeagleBones are super cheap and easy to get, so you can get a BeagleBone Black, install it on it, and now you have a device with all sorts of inputs you can easily play with. And if not, you can just there's plenty of images to run on virtual machines. So if you don't want to invest in hardware and start playing around and get a feeling of what you can and cannot do, so you have them. You have those ready to go. Sorry, you're super. Thank you. So I think it really depends, right, on what you're trying to do. My guess is that the cool, interesting things to do will revolve around having something like a BeagleBone Black or a Ninja Sphere, one of these, and have it drive different things. So I've been doing this with my electric blinds at home, hooking it up so I can bring them up and down. You can do easily with lights and temperatures and all sorts of things. So I think just jumping right in, right? Just installing Snappy, which is super simple, and then it's up to your creativity.
Right. I mean, as Martin said, I mean, it depends really on what you're very enthusiastic about and emotional about. So if you feel like you want to go down the road of trying to make a gateway that can interact with things and just grab a BeagleBoard and try to hack on it and see what you can do. But maybe you're also emotional about certain kind of languages like Python or Node or even Java and so on, and then you could basically sit together and really figure out, I mean, how can we make that super straightforward to basically take any app that you have developed in those languages and just publish them in the store. And obviously, if you feel like there are like nice applications out there that you think you could make available in Snappy and you would even use it in the cloud, just go for it, get an instance at Amazon and try hosting your stuff on that and see how it goes. Having like this nice tiny transactional updated system going.
All right. Sid Payton asks, will there be a web server with a beautiful unified GUI provided for all the different things can be controlled from one unified UI? So I guess something like Landscape or Juju GUI.
Right. So what we are doing again is basically looking very carefully what kind of building blocks will everybody need and doesn't really add value in the core business proposal. And this, what you basically say, you get like a nice UI and can control things. There are many innovators out there that are currently trying to invent them, so we are not really entering that theme directly. However, we have developed something we call the Web Device Manager, which delivers the basic primitives that everybody who is basically using Snappy to build such kind of solutions can use to provide a web UI to administer such systems. This currently has a pretty neat web store built in, so you can go in, you can already navigate the applications in the store, you can install them, and it will grow over time. Lots of system configuration facilities, so on. However, we will not, as part of core at least, go and try to make a standardized solution to administer or make things collaborate. that's up to all those innovators out there that are currently there and trying to solve that problem. And we certainly don't have our core knowledge in that area, and leave that rather to the experts there.
Yeah, I mean, this WebDM will be a jumping point, though, right? So we'll give you basically some scaffolding to build it around. So you install an app, click on it, that will run that app's UI, and that you can build a super simple web UI for that, or a super complex, something like Plex with video streaming. But at that point, it's not us driving a unified UI, it's just providing the jumping point, right? To install that app and install it to manage your device, and then jump off to the app, whatever that may be. There's going to be some to hang off, but yeah, I think the interesting things will come from apps and device developers.
Exactly.
All right. Daniel wants to know if there's a couple of examples that people can play with. And Sergio provided him a link to a Launchpad branch. But is there anything else that you want to point people to who just want to play around with some existing Snappy stuff?
I think that's a good starting point. So we have on Launchpad the Snappy Hub project, where we try to add things that we think is useful for people for education or to learn how to do things there. And besides the Snappy Examples project that is hosted in there, which has very basic examples, there are also more complex snaps there that you can then just download, look at the README, see how you can build them, and try that out on your Snappy install. That could be a KVM run locally, or BeagleBone, or you have Snappy instance in the cloud, and off you go.
All right. Andrew Hazen has an interesting question. Will we see Snappy for the desktop with Unity 8?
So,
It's up to the innovators of the desktop to decide.
So we need to get Will Cook on next week to talk about this then.
Ask him why is he not using Snappy.
I think everything is converging, right? What exactly that convergence is going to look like and how and when, I think, is still very much an open question, but I don't see why not.
So I personally think that's an interesting thing, and also probably an exciting thing to think about. However, at the moment, I think there is a much more urgent issue, and that's really to provide all those guys that want to build small appliances in the world the way to realize the vision without having to be Google or somebody who can hire like a horde of engineers to bring up their own operating system, so they can really compete in this super agile ecosystem that is currently forging. And the desktop is pretty well suited, and I think that it's not so urgent for them to look at a complete different way to do it. Obviously, convergence is also interesting, and I'm sure there are people thinking about that.
All right. Daniel again would like to know if there's anything you would like to see snappified.
Daniel came with a lot of questions.
And yet he wouldn't actually come on the video, I notice.
Interesting.
There's a lot of things that I'd like to have snappified. I mean, going back to the desktop question, I think to some extent, I think Snappy is much more suited. Snap packages are much more suited for the desktop than click packages. So there's a lot of things that I would like. For example, being able to find out the weather from a Snap package in a way that other apps could then query that locally. That would be super interesting, because one of my next projects would be to hook it up to my smart thermostat. So rather my dumb thermostat and make it smart myself. So anything that, all kinds of apps that can provide information about the outside world, I think would be very interesting.
All right, we have a very technical question. I'm not sure you guys will have an answer to this, but Simos asks, how will you deal with the lack of mainline Linux support for ARM systems on a chip? For example, the all-winner ones depend on Linux 3.4 1504?
Right. So that's for us a very interesting question. So we have two conflicting goals here. A, we want to provide top-notch security centrally and ensure that all the products that are built on Snappy are automatically updated and can be kept secure, so we can really not conflicting with our basically strict belief in security of Linux. Do this kind of ecosystem. On the other hand, we also realize that the ARM ecosystem is in that situation, that there are a bunch of SoCs out there that are not there yet, that cannot be easily maintained with an upstream kernel. So what our approach to that currently is really to have basically those two tiers of devices out there. We have we envision to have like product kernels that are basically fully supported by us, that meet our standards on security, and that we can, with our own brand name, guarantee that they are kept secure. And then we also have means for all those other platform manufacturers to easily enable Snappy for developers to build a great product and so on. And once they basically have a product that is viable, we can figure out how to enable them to stay secure on top. So yeah, for development, I mean, we make it easy for development to enable any kind of platform. Once it reaches product state, we can figure something out.
All right, and I think that is all the questions that we have now that are specific to Snappy and Ubuntu Core. So thank you guys for coming on. I appreciate it. I know it was kind of short notice me inviting you. So thanks again for all the work, and go enjoy some much needed time off.
Thank you very much.
A nice evening.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Mark. Yep.
No worries. Bye, guys.
Bye. All right. I'm going to scroll back here and see some of the questions.
I think we have a couple questions at the top maybe that we might have missed.
Yeah, way up at the top, Zmaj asks, I know Unity 8 is coming with 16.04, but will you have some kind of stable or pre-installed Unity 8 with Ubuntu 15.10? We should have a Unity 8 session that you can install in 15.04. I don't know when we're going to start having that as part of the default install, but you can install it right now from the archives after you finish installing Ubuntu 15.04 and I believe 14.10 also. I don't remember the name of the package. It's something like Unity 8 Session Mirror or something like that. But it is in the archives already, and you can try it out that way. Or you can try out the Unity Next ISO, which already defaults to Unity 8.
Yeah, I'll try and find the package name, Mike, and I'll link to the ISO in question.
Okay.
Yep.
Zmaj also asked, what can we expect from Ubuntu 15.04? So if you're talking about desktop, then again, we need to get Will Cook on. He's the desktop team manager, and we'll be able to answer that quite a bit better. I know there are general improvements going into Unity 7. Some of those actually were just backported to Ubuntu 14.04 users. So if you're on an LTS, you do get updates to some of those things for some new features and bug fixes and whatnot. I know we're using new versions of some GNOME components and apps, so those will get updated in 15.04. Beyond that, I'm really not sure. It's kind of been outside what I've been paying attention to lately. So we'll try and have somebody on from the desktop team to answer those questions.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully you will see a lot of stuff landing in Unity 8 on the desktop side, and I know you may have seen some previews of that, things like adding windowing support, getting X applications running nicely natively on Mirror, lots of stuff around that. So hopefully a lot of stuff on Unity 8 is what we'll see. And as Mike said, though, it remains to be seen to what extent Unity 8 will ship on 15.10. So.
Zmaj also asks, will both Snappy and or Click be part of desktop Ubuntu? I know Alex and Martin touched on Snappy on desktop, but I wanted to come back and address this specifically for Click, because we do have, with Unity 8 desktop, the ability to install Click packages, and some of them have been packaged up as fat packages so that they have support for both ARM devices and i386 devices. I think Terminal, Nick, you had a FAT package for?
Yeah,
I remember you testing some.
Right. Yeah. If you take a look at the Unity 8 and run it today, you'll be able to install clicks, and you can browse the store and download stuff. Some of the clicks in the store are specific to ARM, but as Mike said, if they're compiled to support multiple architectures, such as your desktop, which is x86, you can install them. And so, yes, File Manager and Terminal are both available, so you can get those traditional sorts of tools on the desktop. And many of the applications don't have any specific requirements, and can be installed on any device, anywhere you're running Unity 8. So
nice. So yeah, you can give that a try either with a Unity 8 session or with the Ubuntu Next ISO, which Nick just posted a link to in the IRC. So there you go. All right, Nothing Much asks, what license are Click packages under? Click packages can be under any license that the app developer wants to use. There's no restrictions or limitations on that. And then finally, is Canonical breaking even, or is that private financial information? That is private financial information. And remember that Canonical is wholly owned by Mark Shuttleworth, so there's not a set of shareholders or anything that we have to report to. As long as Mark's happy with the way things are going, then it really doesn't matter one way or the other. All right, that's all the questions that we have. We've got about 10 minutes left. Nick, do you want to talk about Global Jam in our last 10 minutes?
yeah, we definitely should talk about Global Jam. Mike, I know I put out a blog post, and I think you put out a blog post as well, talking about things that local teams can do. And so I wanted to, I think Mike and I both have been highlighting the fact that the community donations budget can enable you to do things like Global Jam. So I know in the past local teams have wanted materials, things like DVDs or shirts or whatever it is, funding maybe to help set up a venue or rent a venue or have a demo, that sort of thing. I want you guys to know that that sort of resources are available to you. You know, if it's a Ubuntu pack that you need in order to help run your event, or if you actually need some funds to rent a venue or whatever it is. Yeah. Let's see. Link to my. Sorry, Mike. We should link to your blog post that would explain a little. But the point is that
in the RC.
Yeah, he's linked it. Okay, great. The point is that if you need something like that, you need a jam pack, or if you need some help, there's resources available to you. Check out Mike's blog post link. And for those of you watching, if you hit up mhall119.com, it's the first post at the top. You'll see it. And that will link you to all those wonderful resources. So,
and I would again stress that if you want to get one of these for the upcoming Global Jam, to please request it quickly, because we are having to ship these out. And depending on where you are in the world, it can take quite a while to get to you. So register your event in the local team portal, request the Global Jam pack. If you have had problems with customs before, and it's likely that these are going to get stuck and not make it to you in time, consider making the request for the next Global Jam, which will be next cycle, so in roughly 6 months' time. But if you're in North America or Europe, we haven't had customs problems there, so you should be good to go. The Global Jam, again, is February 6th through the 8th, and it's just a weekend that we pick every cycle for local teams around the world to get together with their local members and hack on something Ubuntu related. We have no real restrictions on what you do. We've got a wiki page that's been posted to IRC now that explains what your options are, gives some advice on how to get an event set up and pick a venue and everything. We've gathered a lot of information from people who've been doing this over the course of the years, and we've tried to distill that all down into these wiki pages so that anybody who's interested in running an event can get one up and going fairly easily. There's not a lot to do with an event. The basics of it is just find a place and a time and get a couple of your friends to show up with you. That's really all there is to it. We've had global jams of 2 people, and that still counts as a global jam, and we still like to see those. So whether it's big or small, whether you're hacking on code or working on translations or just testing the latest stuff, we do encourage you all to get together and participate in this. And order your jam pack so that you get some swag to give away, which is always nice to have.
Right, swag is wonderful. I pasted a link to those wiki pages that Mike was talking about. It's on wiki.ubuntu.com/Ubuntu Global Jam. We'll take you there. And as Mike said, there's information on how to run an event. And I would just reiterate that running an event is not as crazy or as difficult as it seems. And we're here to help. So if you need any help of any kind, advice, whatever it is, feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to help you. So don't feel like you have to plan a 100-person event. It can be small.
Andrea asks if there will be a global jam in Romania. So you would need to check the Loco Team portal. I posted a link above to the actual global jam page on the portal to see what team events there are. I can tell you currently there are only teams in North America that have registered events. So I encourage the rest of you guys in Europe and South America, Africa, and Asia to start registering your events in the portal. It's a great way to share what you're doing with the rest of the Ubuntu community and encourage and inspire others to hold events of their own. And Andrea, if you would like to have a global jam in Romania, then all you need is one more person and you've got something going. So contact the local Romanian team or anyone that you happen to know around there and see who wants to meet up and where and get it registered.
Yes, and then after the event, I know I personally hate taking pictures, but someone should take some pictures, some video, that sort of thing, and do share those things. We love seeing those. I know Mike and I both enjoy seeing that stuff, and other people do too. It's always nice to hit up planet.ubuntu.com and see lovely posts from all the different community events that have happened across the world. So definitely share the activities that have gone on at your event. Share some pictures. Let us see your smiling faces. It's good stuff.
Yes. Post it on Twitter, Facebook, Google+, wherever you're active in social media. And if we're there, we will like it and reshare it and help you spread the word so that everyone else gets to see what you're doing. Nick, did you have any other updates you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I was just going to ask if there were any final questions.
All right. Well, while we wait for the final questions, I'll give the usual closing spiel. If you have any questions while we're not on the air, you can find us in various IRC channels on Freenode, specifically #Ubuntu-community team, where you can find Nick and I and others from the community team. #Ubuntu-loco teams, where you can find members of the local council and other people who are active in their own local teams. #Ubuntu-touch for anything phone related, and #Snappy now for anything to do with the new Ubuntu Core and Snappy packages. And of course, you can follow these video broadcasts on ubuntuonair.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @UbuntuOnAir or on YouTube at Ubuntu On Air. We have these community team Q&As. We do Ubuntu engineering updates every other week. We do a lot of other video broadcasts using this account and this webpage in the same format. So if you enjoyed this and you'd like to participate in others, then please follow us and join the next ones. All right, and we had one question come in from Maurer, and it looks like a support question. Unity 8 LXC won't work, error 400, how to solve it? I would suggest you join either #Ubuntu Touch or #Juju, depending on what you're doing. I'm not sure what Ubuntu LXC is, to be honest. It sounds like an Ubuntu Touch question, though.
I think Ubuntu LXC is a way to run Unity 8, Unity 8 LXC is a way to run Unity 8 on your desktop without inside an LXC container, so without messing up your current installation.
Okay. So that
yeah,
has
you can
nothing to do
actually
with...
find help in Ubuntu-Unity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Type that.
Yeah, and so using the LXC container is actually another great way. If you're actually serious about wanting to run Unity 8 and checking it out over a period of time, watching it change and grow, that sort of thing, running it inside an LXC container is a lovely way to do that. You can run it on the LTS, any version of Ubuntu you wish, as long as you have an updated version of LXC. So anything 14.04 or later, I believe, should work out.
All right, cool. I didn't even know about that.
Yeah, let me link the wiki page that talks about doing that as well. Quite nice. There you are. It's on Ubuntu Wiki. The page title is Unity 8 in LXC.
All right, and on that note, we will wrap this up. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you all for your wonderful questions. And we will be back next week. Same time, same channel, different hosts. So be sure to join us then. And if you have any questions, you can bring us to whoever's hosting that week.
Indeed.
All right. Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys. See you.
Bye.